Okay, greetings, lords and ladies. I am here with the famed Red Pill game reviewer, Eincrou.
Hello.
And we are here to talk about mostly the recent changes with regards to third-party matching content and what I like to refer to as the YouTube content ID crisis.
Yes, it's something that has taken YouTube by storm, as you can imagine, especially with the people that make a lot of money off of YouTube. And now there's a chance that they may make less. People don't like that.
Absolutely. I think, and one of the core issues that you and I agree about is that, there seems to be a lot of obfuscation amongst the bigger channels in particular about what the bottom line is with regards to this. They seem to be dancing around the issues. They seem to be talking about things like transformative processes, the unique gaming experience. They're focusing on copyright issues, the legality of certain things, when, quite frankly, I think we both agree on this, the bottom line is the money. If they were not afflicted by profit losses, they wouldn't give a shit about the legal issues, the copyright. They wouldn't be talking about transformative processes and so on and so forth. And it's rare that any of these guys is particularly honest on this topic. What do you think?
Yes, certainly you've got some guys like you've mentioned, XCal, I believe, is one of them, who will admit that their concern with this is the money. They are able to spend so much time making YouTube videos because they are making money, therefore they don't have to get another job doing something else. And so presumably that gives us as viewers better content from them. But you've got, as you said, the obfuscation, the redirection of what this is most likely about into copyright issues, rather than Google is losing a huge amount of money on YouTube, and they've got to at least stem the bleeding, I think. I don't think that they could probably ever make a profit on this without significantly changing the nature of how it works. We
can talk about that and possibilities. You made an interesting comment on my most recent video, and I'd like to talk about that as well. Just for the record, XCal, when he first posted a video, this was about a month ago, about he had some issues with his networks, and this was prior to the massive changes, but one of his subs expressed dismay and disappointment when he said, this is essentially about the money, because he had had some issues with copyrights, and back then, it's separate to this now. And he just said flat out, if I had a full-time job, I'd be uploading one video a week max.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it is the bottom line, and I don't understand why it is so many YouTubers who I would say anywhere is up to 100K plus subscribers who earn enough to earn a living a year, because that's kind of what it would take. You would need at least 100K subs with the corresponding views. Can't simply be honest that it's about money. They talk about these peripheral issues as if they're the core issues, instead of just saying it's about money. Now, they do say they're making their living that way, but that's really a distant secondary or tertiary in my observation. Yeah.
Absolutely. You've got people that make a lot of money off of YouTube. They make probably upper middle class incomes for some of the larger ones.
You can go to Social Blade. I mean, Angry Joe earns somewhere between 300,000, 250,000, 600,000 USD a year.
Outrageous.
To date, that might change. Now, if you or I were earning that much, I'm sure you would be upset. I would be upset about losing that money too. That's almost wealthy. That's beyond upper middle class.
Yes, it is.
Yes, he has expenditures. He's running a business, right? He does have expenditures, but arguably, I don't. Even if you were to buy some of the best tech, which I imagine he has, you're still going to have some, I guess, residual savings. I mean, you're not going to live like a pauper with that kind of money.
The thing about Angry Joe that's always annoying me is, to hear that he makes that much money. The camera that he used, the video camera, is not up to standard for really 250 grand a year.
That's a bottom estimation.
Wow.
Now you could average that out. Social Blade, if you're not familiar with, it's a network. You can look up any YouTuber.
I haven't heard of that.
It's a useful tool. You can look up any YouTuber, and it will give an estimation based on the views, the most current views, and so on and so forth of earnings. And I mean, I didn't do the mean there. You would probably have to average and find a mean. The problem is finding a mean with earnings of big YouTubers or even little ones, small ones, is kind of bad or difficult because there's so much fluctuation. It's unpredictable. But I would say conservatively he earns at least 300, perhaps 400,000 USD a year on average. Maybe a little less, maybe more, depending on how good the year is, how well things are going that particular year. And I don't actually necessarily begrudge him the money, but he was, these copyright content things have been going on for a long time, and he was conspicuously silent about it. He didn't talk about the other changes that Google implemented, and this ridiculous comment system that we've just had to accept. And I think the reason is because the money was rolling in still.
Right. And I mean, you look at Angry Joe and the way he makes his videos, there are far and few between. He doesn't do daily content like a lot of gaming channels do. He does these big, huge productions that get 1 million+ views. So for him to lose the ability to monetize one of his, I don't know how many video he makes, maybe 20 a year that he makes, then that is a huge hit to his bottom line. So his anger is probably going to be a lot bigger than other people's anger who are able to make a variety of content a variety of content on the same game, rather than just one big video that gets knocked down by the content ID matching. So, he did make that rage video. I haven't watched it. I'm not interested in that kind of stuff. But yes, he is actually angry for once.
Yeah, I posted a rather trollish comment about that. It's for the first time, Joe is legitimately angry. Angry Joe.
Yes, I've had run-in with Angry Joe, and I cover that in one of my reviews. So I don't have a huge opinion of the guy.
I have to say I'm not sub to him. I don't watch his stuff. I just don't. It doesn't really interest me. But for what interests me is this phenomenon of skirting the issue. Right. I'm not here to cast judgment on. I don't even know if I want to define it as greed, but people want to make money. They want to earn a living. If they're making a lot of money, they want to maintain that or increase that. And I just wish some of these people, like I said, the prominent exception, and I give them plaudits for that, XCal, would just say, yeah, I'm making good money. I want to keep making good money. I want to increase my revenue. This is not about the copyright mismatching system. It doesn't work right. Yes, we all acknowledge that. As I demonstrated in my video, on my Skyrim LP, I can't monetize it because a song by a British 70s band is allegedly in the video, which it's not. But that's not the issue. The issue, even to me, is, well, that's my most popular, my minuscule channel, my most popular LP so far, and they're not popular, and I can't monetize it.
Yeah, and so, you get the same from Google as well. They're not. It doesn't seem like they're explaining why they've done this. The money.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you have to look outside. I'm not claiming any sort of genius or unique perspective on this, but quite frankly, none of these people really, if they're not talking about the money issues. The other thing is, they're talking about the publishers. Now, the publishers have actually issued statements now, not all of them, but many of them, to the effect of, we're not doing this. Most of us aren't doing this. Bethesda has gone on records. They have no problem with the LPs. I mean, beyond the standard, copyright things that apply to everything. Don't sell it off as your own thing and what have you. But Bethesda, for example, doesn't mind. And that's why I've been spared in the majority of my videos.
Blizzard has also said the same. Capcom as well. There's a few other big publishers. I think Ubisoft is also one of them.
Yeah, so, I don't know about BioWare. I'd be interested to see what their perspective is. But given that they'd
be controlled by EA, and
EA, I'm not aware. I was going to say,
I'm not aware what EA thinks about all this yet.
I'm sure EA doesn't like it, but then again, it is. I mean, this is an argument the people use. They're getting free advertising, so that's true. But no one is. I think the comment you made, and I don't remember its entirety off the top of my head on my most recent video about this, was really just spot on. That here we are, we're allowed to upload shit for free. We can just put up whatever we want within certain limitations. everyone who has an account can do that.
Exactly. There's nothing that you have to pay to watch videos or to view videos on YouTube. It's just a matter of if you want to upload videos, there's a possibility that the user who does that may want to monetize their videos and get something back from that, and Google can take a cut of that. But other than that, there's no monetization in terms of a subscription for anybody, a pay-per-view, a pay-per-upload system. It's just the ad revenue that Google will take a cut of. And they did attempt a pay-per-view model in the past. I don't know if you remember this, Stardust, but
no, I don't.
There was a way that you could buy people's videos. It was, I forget exactly what it was called, but I remember that there were some videos that people could flag as, you got to buy this to watch it. And that was, I think, like 2011 around, that came around, and then it seems like they got rid of that in favor of opening up the ability for people to monetize to a wider audience rather than just people who had the partner status. It used to be that partner status was the only way that you could upload longer than 15 minutes, that you could have custom thumbnails. There was a huge number of things that only partners could do. And once they decided we're going to open all that up to everybody without the strict requirements, and so that was probably one of the first things that they did to really try and get this increased ad revenue, was opening up to everybody the ability to monetize without some type of special status. But now you see that that was not nearly enough, and they've got to go further and further, and likely even further than what they've done now with trying to take even more from the uploaders with their content.
Yeah, and we were talking about this just prior, that I can't comment as to the legality of it, but because I'm unaware, I don't know about this, but I mean, Google keeps its yearly turnovers, revenues under wraps, unlike every other company I can think of.
I'm not sure if that's even, how is that even legally possible? Don't you have to release that information?
I don't know.
Isn't that the whole part of transparency in markets and things like that? I don't understand it. Well, yeah, forgive me.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. But yeah, be it as, I don't know whether it's legal or not, or illegal, or maybe Google, Google was the whole government thing when the whole Snowden thing.
They are very tied in.
Oh yeah. So I mean, if they're skirting around some legal issue, I'm sure the government is helping them skirt along. Put it that way.
In fact, I've heard that DARPA, or some type of defense agency, was involved with creating the search algorithms for the Google, the main part of Google, which is the search engine.
Entirely possible. And a friend of mine joked, if Google were ever to fail, the government would take over YouTube and it would become,
a government-run
agency, basically. But no, but I mean, so you always have these speculators every year trying to guess, and it's just kind of a waste of time. What we do know, because Google has admitted to this, is that it is as a business endeavor, YouTube is a losing one. They're always making less money than they set out to do so. And
makes you wonder why they decided to take it over then. And when was it, 2006 that they bought it?
Well, this was just speculation on my part, but they clearly thought they could turn it around and turn it into something very profitable. And it does not panned out that way. Now, what's happening now, as I've mentioned in now 2 videos, and that's why I want to focus on the primary causes, is that this is why all this has begun to happen. They're trying. There is a secondary issue, for example, that yes, there are some people, publishers, issuing third-party claims, and Google doesn't want to deal with it, but it's mostly to bypass all these cuts that people are taking, networks, content providers. I mean, this is an arbitrary number I'm just making up, so don't take these numbers are not accurate. But let's say a content provider gets, I don't know, 20% of an ad revenue, all right, and the network he's partnered with might get 30. So what does that leave Google with? 50. And if you get rid of all these middlemen, you get 100%. It's
right.
I mean, as far as Google's concerned, that's a good strategy.
And I would say that some very strong evidence for this viewpoint that you've been expounding upon in your several videos about it being all about the money is the fact that that these major developers, the huge developers, are not developers, excuse me, publishers, the people who actually deal with the content stuff, were caught by surprise by this. They weren't even like pulled into a back room and told, hey, we're going to do this. And so they certainly aren't the ones who are precipitating this. It's a unilateral decision by Google.
Most of them, as we've mentioned, are pretty open about it. Some just, they don't care at all. Yeah. And the other thing is, I think I mentioned some other videos that these kinds of massive changes to an entire system, an entire, I have no idea how complex, I don't have that knowledge or the skill to even fathom how complex YouTube is, and it's in the nitty gritty. But they clearly have to plan this stuff months in advance to actually implement it. They have software engineers working on it and so on and so on and so forth. This is not just, they snap their fingers and here it is.
It seems like that because that's how they roll these things out usually. They don't give any advance warnings. Just suddenly the site's changed. And
True, but weird. That's true. But I mean, these are obviously things that people, they had to have planned for a long time.
Yeah, like YouTube one pops up one day. People are like, whoa, what is this? But no, of course, that took months of development.
I mean, let's talk briefly about the Google Plus thing. I mean, the reason why Google Plus was opposed on this is because it competes with fake or failbook Facebook. And even though Facebook is kind of a dying endeavor, and I think Sugar Mountain is selling off his stuff slowly but surely, it's not as effective or as good as Facebook is. People don't like it. So this is a way to ensure people use Google Plus because, well, they need people to use it to keep the revenue going. And so if that's seen as a step in the direction that we've been talking about, this next step that we're seeing now, and the step that's going to follow in January probably with the review process, as they call it,
yes,
a couple hours to 24
I haven't heard about that except for your video on it, and that is very scary to me. Is that only for monetized videos, or is that for every video?
Let me explain. Okay. I'll explain to the audience. I'll explain to the audience as well in detail, as well as you, what that's about. So we already have the content matching with the bad scan bot. Everyone knows it's crap. It doesn't work all the time. But come January, sometime in January, partners themselves will be divided into two different divisions. Well, actually, that exists now, I think. The managed kind, the affiliate. The vast majority are affiliates. And the reason why is simple. It's because if you are managed, that means the network is willing to take responsibility for your actions. If you make a big fuck up or a big boo-boo, they will be liable for that. Hence why the vast majority of partners are now affiliates, because affiliates are responsible for their own material. And effectively, being a partner is then, well, useless as an affiliate. There's no benefit because you still have to give the networks a cut, in theory, but that's a separate issue. I don't want to go off on a tangent. So you have that situation. Everyone who is an affiliate or just a regular Joe Schmo on YouTube and not a managed partner of whatever network will be subject to a so-called review process, which can take anywhere from a few hours to up to 48 hours.
Is there any indication if this is an automatic thing, or is it actually somebody sitting there looking at your video?
Well, I can tell you what, based on evidence, there have not been statements, but I can tell you YouTube is far too vast and far too big,
of course,
for anything but a scan bot. That's what they've been using. Could they improve the scan bot? Yeah, certainly. But so the same wackiness we've been seeing, like the 70s British band song appearing in Skyrim magically, which is not there, that I got nailed for, that you'll see that kind of thing as well with the review process. And I presume as well, this is my assumption, I have no evidence for this, that because this is being reviewed prior to publication, if you do have third-party content matching, and it's really severe, it might not be published at all. But although I'm not entirely sure about that, because Google will inevitably get ad revenue regardless, so that might not be an issue. However, some people like Force Strategy Gaming who do news, prompt news, on the day it comes out or what have you, they're going to be penalized. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that as far as the big YouTubers who earn good money are concerned, that it's really the first day or two where they earn the most revenue, the most views. And of course, the freshness of the news is a big deal. It does.
Yes, TotalBiscuit pointed this point out, and his take on these issues.
Yeah. Yeah, and for the most part, he talked about the whole artistic aspect as well. But
so that's going to benefit him because he's not going to have a review process. No other
no, exactly.
He can have a review process.
I think what his thing is a lot of marketing. He's talking about the issue because it's relevant, it's germane to the gaming community. But he, as a managed partner, who's really just huge, he's unaffected, and he's going to be able to cash in on something that smaller channels will not be able to cash in on because they're going to be subject to the review process. And a day or two delay on important news for, say, a guy like Force Strategy Gaming, it doesn't matter. Even my pathetically minuscule channel, it turns out that the Fallout thing wasn't an entire fake, but there had already been so many publications on that. After I found out, even with less than a day, I thought, what's the point?
Yeah, that's what the thing is about the internet is. It's all about who can get out of the gates first.
In many cases, yes. Certainly in gaming. I mean, first day LPs, regardless of the quality, they get lots of views. Because the way YouTube works, if you're punching in, there's a search algorithm. And the fewer or the less material there is on the thing you're searching for, in the algorithm, the fewer hits. But only those hits will show up. So if you first day, second day LPing or whatever, you might only have 3, 4, or 5 channels doing that. A year later, you'll have hundreds. And so the search algorithm, becomes ever smaller. And
yeah, it becomes like I've specifically tried to look for LPs from like smaller channels of games just because, I want that experience of just like an ordinary guy playing it, not for money or anything like that. And it's very difficult to find those because they're absolutely buried behind all of the guys that do this stuff professionally. So, those guys are going to get even more of an advantage once this change. Well,
and that's the whole thing. And what I took umbrage with is that Angry Joe people did not like my use of what they call name calling. I don't think it's immature. I think it's a device. It's a satirical device, but
it knocks him down a notch off his 2 million subscribers pedestal.
So Average or Angry Joe, whatever you want to call him. This was just complete fakery on his part, in my opinion. He said, well, how are the smaller channels going to get started? I mean, if this is happening to me, they're not going to have a chance at all.
You got to be populist if you're going to do this stuff.
Absolutely.
You got to pretend.
This was a political move on his part. He had to reach out. And TotalBiscuit being unaffected by this, I mean, I think he's a cool cucumber. And I mean, let's be honest. I think TotalBiscuit is several notches above Angry Joe, but if money isn't the bottom line for him, then call me Mary and I'll fly off a cliff as a pig. I mean, it's obviously his bottom line too. He's just not concerned because he's unaffected.
He does.
In fact, this is actually good for him.
Yes, he does have his high horse about these things. For example, he hates Let's Play content because he thinks it's just low quality stuff, especially blind Let's Plays. He is somebody who apparently was involved with the beginning of Let's Playing, which is apparently related to the Something Awful forums, where people who are masters of a game would go play the game, explain the game, give you a whole bunch of background information, and it was really a learning process just as much as an entertainment thing. So that's what his standard is for Let's Plays, and so he's fine to see these type of people get shit on. He's fine with that. Just besides the money issue.
Not only that, yeah. I mean, that's his high horse perspective. But not only that, the fact that smaller channels, comparatively speaking, won't be able to get the news out sooner or published, that means that he's gonna get even more traffic.
Right.
So, kind of on aggregate, a guy like TotalBiscuit actually benefits from this stuff because he's immune to it because he's managed. And the smaller guys will have issues, and yeah, he's going to benefit on net by this. I mean, of course, he's not going to concede that publicly, and this is speculation, but I think it's underpinned by a fair amount of evidence, and it's could offer arguments for that.
It would be really a shame for these guys to support this type of stuff, even behind the scenes, because they were all tiny once. Like I remember looking back at some of Angry Joe's early videos, he didn't put as much into I know you don't like them now, but he put even less into them before. And that's when he was just doing it probably for fun. And that's how TotalBiscuit got started, basically, too. He just started covering some information on the World of Warcraft Cataclysm expansion beta, and from there he was able to turn it into a big business and make his living full-time off.
But as you know, Eincrou, monopolies don't like to share. I mean, it's
of course.
I mean, it's not. It'd be nice to think that there's all goodwill and what have you to your fellow brothers trying to start stuff up on YouTube. But I mean,
even if they don't actively, go against the average. I was about to say the average Joe, like in the real sense of it, and not.
Yes, of course.
It might not be the case that they have any ill will towards these people and wish to really stomp them down as a bigger channel, but that doesn't mean they're actually going to go out of their way too much to help with this stuff.
Oh,
so
no. I mean, channels like ours don't mean anything to these guys.
Yeah, that's what the focus is. That's why they put the focus on something that's probably, there's a 2% chance that it has anything to do with why these changes were made, which is the copyright claims in and of itself. That is very likely not what it is, in my opinion. So they with their big channels, their big channels, their big voices are dominating the conversation because they're so big, and they're directing that conversation towards, you go off on the list of the things they talk about. Transformative. What do they talk about?
Transformative processes, the unique perspective from a unique gamer playing a game which differentiates itself from another player playing the game.
Throw up.
The amount of work and effort that it takes to develop these ideas and then put it into production and editing and blah, blah, blah. Smaller, you and I both know, even for montages, for different things that it takes, even though you work with Adobe and I work with Sony Vegas, how much work and effort it takes. I mean, regardless of the reward. Admittedly, my first, and this is a announcement for anyone who, my Argonian Shout mod, I will be reworking that completely. It'll sound very professional by the end of the month.
Yeah, you got your new mic now to do that with.
My new mic, it will be out. My partner, who is very skilled in these things, will be able to work some nice wonders. I'll also be working on the Argonian grunts, which happen to be human. And it'll probably be a basic demonstration video. The montage turned out, retrospectively, to be an odd disaster. But that was a bit of a tangent. But no, I think this is deflective intentionally. The big channels are focusing on the whole content ID copyright thing because they don't want people to call into question the real reasons behind it. The fact that Google's been losing money for consecutive years, that the big channels, if they are affected, and for some reason, Average Joe is an affiliate. I don't know why. Like, who knows?
Yeah, I don't know.
He's under Polaris too, and they decided not to give him managed status. That might change though. By focusing on the copyright thing, they're moving away from the bottom line, which no one wants to talk about. Be it TotalBiscuit, Angry Joe. The only ones who mentioned, like I said, is Force Strategy Gaming. Who was less direct about it. He was a bit oblique, but he said, I have lots of electricity bills. Look at all the computers. I have to pay for them. I have a roof. XCal, like I said, I used to not like XCal based on earlier stuff he did, but he was so transparent about exactly how it worked in his older video with Machinima, moving over to Pixel Path, and with his recent updates on what's going on and how it affects him. I really have a lot of respect for him, even though I probably won't be watching his videos apart from those. I wish more people would do that,
and
because it's important.
Yeah, we've talked about our puzzlement at this. Why don't people admit that they make their livelihood off of YouTube, and that's why they need to be very concerned about this. There's no reason, at least in my, we're red pill people.
I could offer you a pretext. I think I could offer you a reason. Now, greed, whatever it is, or avarice, it doesn't have a nice perception. It's traditionally speaking one of the 7 deadly sins, avarice or greed. But more to the point, there's a perception amongst the common people. You'll see these comments.
It's not real if you're making money.
Precisely. I see these comments. They say, now is time for you to get a real job. I've never made statements like that, but I see it often. on Angry Joe, TotalBiscuit, XCal, Force Strategy Gaming, everything I looked at, you always get a couple of dozen of these in total. So there's a perception that doing the things they do is not work, which is just it's bollocks. It's not
Absolute
true. I mean, it takes a lot of work.
I mean, have any of these people actually tried to make the types of content that these guys are making, whether it's just live commentary or it's produced videos such as Angry Joe's? That stuff takes a lot of work, a lot of effort,
Absolutely.
a lot of creativity.
Editing, if you want to script it, I tend to be more impromptu, but even my admittedly, I don't think that my LPs are that great, but my LPs, they take a little bit of editing, the rendering, the hours that go into it. Yeah,
of course. I mean, it takes to play an LP, it takes exactly the amount of time, at least, that you're playing the episode, and you do long episodes, an hour plus, so that's
so
a lot of time out of your day.
It's just to say that it's not any work is just it's ludicrous, but the perception remains nonetheless. It's this idea that whether these people enjoy it or not, I have the feeling that most of them really enjoy it. They like their jobs, which is a rarity. I've never had a job I've liked in my entire life, current one included. But that's a rarity. And so somehow that doesn't equate to work. You still have to do work. You still have to put in energy and resources and money investment.
Yes, there are costs to this stuff.
And so I think it's an issue of perception. There's a perception that being a YouTuber, a professional YouTuber, depending on what you do, is not a lot of work. Now there are exceptions. I don't want to go off on tangent, but if you take someone like Jenna Marbles, who posts one video a week, I had to do it. Post one video a week, about I think 5 minutes in length on average, or a little less, on every Wednesday. There's minimal editing to none. And it's just her randomly talking about anything she wants. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, she posted a video of her moving with her suitcases. That gets her hundreds of thousands of dollars. That doesn't take work, or very much, once a week. I mean, wow.
And they are so protected, those types of people, because they don't use anybody else's content. It's just them. They are the only thing they are selling. They don't have to.
Yeah. Well, it's debatable whether the content's good.
Yeah, but they are in such a good position.
Well, the irony is a guy like Ray William Johnson, he uses other people's content.
Yes.
He's a couple of years back, he got hit with a copyright, and he just threw a hissy fit, a tantrum, and he's a top-notch guy allegedly, so they reinstated him. But he's smart. He's expanding. He's signed some contract with some television production agency, and he's trying to get into Hollywood. But the really big guys who don't produce, I don't think it requires the amount of effort that I don't like Angry Joe, but the amount of effort that Angry Joe puts in. I mean, he admitted he works 7 days a week, hours, no vacation for years. Same thing with Force Strategy Gaming. I mean, these guys, they're kind of glued to. That's another thing. You can't take a vacation, not really.
Yeah,
a couple of days off. You're kind of glued to what you do.
If you do that,
you have to keep abreast of what's going on in the gaming world. You have to, if you were to, let's say you wanted to, I don't know, go to an oasis for 3 or 4 days and just chill out. Well, you can't do that because you have to keep, up to date with what's happening on the internet. So it's definitely work, but the perception will always remain. And I think the perception is tarnished by these bigger channels that do produce quote unquote original content, although it tends to be pretty awful. But I think the perception stems from the really big quote unquote original content producers who do very little, in fact, but still, they have millions of views. And then that streams downwards, and they say, well, video game people, they don't put in a lot of effort. Of course they put in effort. Now, it's debatable whether
the effort results in a good product. That's something you can question.
Yeah, I mean, that's an entirely different issue, whether we the consumer, like the product or not. But, they're obviously working their asses off. But because of that perception, they're paralyzed. They can't say, I need the money. I want to make more money. They can't say that.
Yeah, and for people like us, as I was going to say earlier, we are red pill. We can take reality in whatever form it may present itself.
Yeah.
So we like you said about who was it, XCal, that you said you changed your opinion on just by him being truthful about this. There's a lot of respect that can come from people when you say, why you're doing what you're doing, and instead of trying to dance around the issue. And
well, that's what a politician does, right? The non-committal.
Exactly.
They're politicians, and I don't see the need for that. I don't make a lot. I haven't earned a dime yet on my channel. Would I like to in the future? Yeah. Would I like to earn as much as possible? Sure. I think it's unlikely, but I'm not going to lie about that. If here, this is for my subs. I'm totally transparent about this. The LPs, if I keep on getting LPs flagged for the copyright thing, I'll probably drop them. They're not that popular. I don't know how good a job I do of them, and if I can't monetize them, effectively they become a waste of time and energy. I mean, I'll be honest about that.
Especially when you're playing games that you're, an expert on, like Skyrim.
Yeah. I think I might be the expert on Skyrim.
The expert.
Let's not tell anyone about the
3,000 hours. I'm gonna.
Okay. He broke that. Over 3,000 hours on Steam. I'm the world record holder. Maybe.
Now, if you could just get it to over 9,000. Sorry.
That's gonna take a while. Yeah, but I think that kind of honesty is. I value it, you value it, and clearly that's the way XCal has turned out to be. I never realized that back when I was very involved in the Mass Effect multiplayer scene, I saw his videos. Yeah, he was a good player, but I just always thought he was another fake, and it really just changed my mind. Now, like I said, I probably still won't watch most of his videos, but the stuff he has released in regards to the current YouTube crisis, if you will, has been really good, and he's definitely garnered my respect, and I've subbed to him just for that, and I wish more people were like that, but it's unlikely. Like I said, the perception remains that, wanting money, wanting to earn money, trying to earn your money, and wanting even more money is a bad thing. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. And of course, the perception that, hey, you're on YouTube making videos, making money, you don't do jack shit.
You know what? I want to kind of cross the boundaries of our gaming channels here a bit and talk about the issue of taking donations. For your work, or not you specifically, but anyone's work.
You can talk
on
about
YouTube.
Me if you want.
I'm open about that. That's something that's come up in the past related to specifically your other channel and some other people's channels. And my position on that has always been that, like, nobody should ever say, "I will never accept donations. I will never take money for this," because if people value what you're doing, then if they want you to continue to do that, despite maybe somebody has.
I'll publicly say I should not have made statements to that effect. However, I still make, as you notice, I still make videos, I still produce content, and it's all voluntary. Whether my donations, given the amount of subscribers I have on my other channels, they're quite positive. They've not been impressive, and I'm not angry about it or anything. I'm just saying, some people donated, fine. And I still make content. I'd still make content if I got.
I didn't really want to get it to specifically to your situation.
Okay, sure.
I'm not calling into question you or anything that you've done or anyone in particular. I'm just saying, in general, for anything, I think that the ability to get paid for any service that people find valuable is what makes the world go around. It's what allows people
absolutely. And I mean, retrospectively, I've on the other channel. I don't want to talk too much about my other channel. But I put a lot of work in on some more than others. Some videos, really complex ones. You might remember the evolutionary autopilot one.
Yes,
that
took big one.
A long ass time to put together between finding the data and scripting it. So I'm in complete agreement about that. But
So that's what my perspective is on all of this stuff. If people need to, in their own self-interest, their own rational self-interest, or whatever you want to call it, you want to get Randian on it, then it makes sense for them to oppose this stuff. But similarly, it makes sense for Google to do this stuff because they have their own concerns. They are the ones.
That's an interesting thing that you kind of alluded to a little bit in that comment that I liked on the shorter version of the video I talked about this stuff on. In the future,
yes, let's talk about the future of YouTube.
Let's talk about that's an interesting topic. I mean, the way I'm looking at it now is that let's say the measures they're implementing now don't work out. I don't think it's going to happen immediately, but let's say half a year to a year from now. A year, I'll be generous.
And
say, okay,
how do you define working out for this system?
Well, I mean, Google shareholders have profit margins that they set out. These, these are goals. Every company does this. We want to. It's like, it sounds ridiculous. We want to gather so and so many apples. That's our goal. If we don't do that, we've missed our goal. We don't attain our goal. That's the.
So you think that's what's going to be the determining factor for success or failure, rather than all the caterwauling that's going on amongst people on YouTube? It's going to be what the investors think.
The people are irrelevant. Even TotalBiscuit's irrelevant here. It's what the investors and the shareholders. This is always the bottom line. They set the profit margins that for fiscal year, blah, 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 or quarter or whatever, we want to reach such and such goal. If the goal is attained, great. If it's exceeded, even better. If not, that's bad news.
I think all the changes that yes, I think it's very important that we explicitly point this out, because a lot of people think that they're making videos and they're complaining, their angry rants are going to do anything, and it's not.
They're impotent. They're completely impotent. Angry Joe, in his angry version of his discussion of this, he said, "Oh, I'm going to get really angry." Well, they don't care. But if it doesn't,
some guy got angry. Holy crap!
If he doesn't, for the first time, he actually got angry. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Like I said, I'm being generous. A year from now, there'll be new changes. Now, the simplest thing to do. This is not my suggestion. So I'm not saying this is good or bad. I'm saying this was what might happen. So people who listen to this don't accuse me. You want Google to charge us? No, but what if Google starts saying, really just basic, a $3 monthly subscription fee for every YouTuber? Well, there are billions of YouTubers by now, probably. That's revenue. Let's say, I don't know. Let's say there are 2 billion YouTube users. There's some brand, I don't know. Let's say they charge $3 for it, USD. So that's what, 6 billion right there. But that might help them not only meet their profit margins and exceed. And, the only danger there is where, I guess for lack of a better word, greed kicks in.
Yeah, and people, of course, you're going to lose a lot of users if you do that.
You lose some. If you keep the subscription fee, if you want to call it that, low enough. But the problem is once you introduce subscription fees, they tend to always go up. It's just a matter of course of inflation and things like that. Even if they say $1, you have to pay $1 a year, or $1 a month rather. $1 a month doesn't seem like a lot, but that could generate incredible income for Google. Now, this is not my suggestion to Google or anyone, but I'm just saying, what are the
That's what it might take to keep this ship sailing. And that's really what we need to be concerned with, is not specifically what they're doing now, but what they will be doing in the future in an attempt to keep Google alive. And it seems to me that Google's focus is where it needs to be in terms of doing that. They are still trying to keep Google free for everybody to use, whether you're uploading or you're just watching videos. They are doing things to avoid having to make that step to subscriptions or pay-per-view or whatever direct payment they might be able to extract from people who do things rather than just ad revenue. They are expanding their ad revenue base business without directly affecting as many people as they would with some other type of system. So obviously it's getting to the point where they're going to have to keep going even more and more extreme, more and more intrusive with how they attempt to monetize YouTube. And they do have to be able to monetize YouTube, or otherwise it's going away. That is just a law of nature, not even to do with greed of investors. It's just, if you are doing something that's losing money, investors, they don't have any particular reason to care about your endeavor from a humanitarian standpoint.
No, only a child or Angry Joe would think that.
Of course. So, I mean, there are going to be investors who do, but if you, like, say, for example, you decide, I'm going to start a company and I'm only going to take money from people who really believe in it. Obviously, the amount of money you take in is going to be way less than if you were someone who was bottom line oriented, investor oriented. And so what you end up doing is actually going to be of a much smaller scale than what you could do if you did take on these people that only care about the money. And for something like YouTube, this is a massive project. It's insane how much data is uploaded on a daily basis, not to mention the fact that they never do cullings of videos. So every video that's ever been uploaded that nobody has ever, that the user hasn't removed or hasn't been removed by, copyright claim or whatever, those are all still there on the service, and it just keeps adding up, adding up, adding up.
Which is why I also mentioned prior that the changes, they took months and months and months to plan. This wasn't just sudden. I mean, it's too complex a system.
Yeah, they have a long-term view of their service, and that is what they are trying to deal with. So, we understand the perspective of the people that don't like this, but we have to understand the perspective of those who have created this for us.
You have to be a realist. I mean, you have to be objective about these things. I mean, do I like, getting weird, non-applicable third-party matches? No. But I mean, that's not relevant. What I like and what I don't like is not relevant. Even what Angry Joe likes or dislikes isn't relevant. The bottom line is the money and what Google needs to do to maintain YouTube. And if it doesn't work out with changes, well, what are they going to do? They probably will introduce a payment system eventually because, I mean, unless they just...
It's either that or they just shut it down right now.
Or they just shut it down.
Because there's no option where they just keep losing money for 5 decades. It's just not going to happen.
The shutdown option is going to arise if investors and shareholders just say, look, this ship is just sinking ever further into the sea, and I'm getting out of here.
Yep.
When the shareholders really just retract themselves and say, nope, I can't do it anymore, that's when it's going to be too late. But before that happens, yeah, they'll talk about pay to be a member on YouTube. I mean, there are even worse ideas that I don't want to voice out loud that they could do, and that would get them money. But I think it is a shame that some people produce really good content. I'm not talking about Angry Joe, and they're being penalized. But
it's just an incredible opportunity that YouTube has been so far. You get to basically leech off of somebody else's huge infrastructure that is able to serve your content to people all over the world. It doesn't cost you anything, doesn't cost them anything. So to be able to expect a situation like that to go on forever, a parasitic, I mean, it's not entirely parasitic because YouTube takes a cut, but in the grand scheme of things, over the entire breadth of what YouTube is, they are parasitic upon it, and they get huge, in some cases, gains. Like you're talking about Angry Joe, 250 grand a year.
Yeah, that's a bottom.
And you don't have to pay for anybody else's ability to access your content. That is outrageous. I mean, TV networks have to pay for the equipment and the antennas. I mean, it's incredible that something like this can exist and has existed since when did YouTube come up? Like 2005. I don't know how long you've been able to make money off of it, but 6 years of being able to do that.
Well, that's a long separate issue, but yeah, I mean, it's making money is comparatively recent, but some people knew. I think XCal is well aware that this at any given moment he's offered statements to that effect. At any given moment could just kind of sink or blow up, and I think he's aware of that, and of course would plan correspondingly. On the other hand, guys like Angry Joe really, for the most part, seem to put most of their eggs in the YouTube basket. Is that a wise financial investment? No. I mean, let's say by some miracle I became big, 100K plus subs. I mean, I'm frugal. I'm single, no wife, no children. I could live off of that. I could live off of that well. I'd be earning equivalent of 50,000 USD probably on average, depending on views. That'd be great. Could work from home. Mm-hmm. But I still probably wouldn't. I'd still have either backup plans, significant ones, or I might just make it. I might just work part time. Few hours. But something that I could eventually go into full time if necessary. Something like that. I don't think YouTube is a good investment unless you get to the highest echelons, which most of us are never going to do. I don't think I'll even ever get to the point where I'm earning more than a year that I can pay for a few meals every now and then. But you need to have that foresight, and if YouTube crashes and burns, there will be significant loss too. But I mean, YouTube hasn't just been good. I mean, talk about parasitic. This isn't even a tangent. This is relevant to this. a couple of weeks ago, I discovered a channel by this teenage girl called Piddalass. It's about 700,000 subs. This is a girl. It is her content, admittedly. Who? Although I know actually she does do Minecraft stuff as well on her smaller channel, which has over 100,000 subs, and it's not because it's good. Who just rants on, goes in front of the camera and talks about her day. I went shopping. I went clubbing. I went to dinner here. Blah. She has over on that one channel over 500,000 subs, and I looked at the calculus. She's earning easily upwards of $100,000 a year. A teenage girl, mind you, late teens, early 20s.
Oh my gosh!
So, if YouTube were to go, would I mourn the loss incredibly? Probably not. People talk about the cultural heritage, and there's a lot of stuff you can learn, but I'm older than a lot of people. I remember when and I have extensive education. I remember, using libraries and books and stuff. I wouldn't see it as the end of the world. The internet is great, but it might not come to that if Google implements the right changes. Maybe this thing will work out with the whole
that's my wish.
Thing.
That is my wish for. I know you look at the Piddlasses and you say burn it all because I totally understand that. That is just horrendous for me to hear.
It's an abomination. Yeah. Can you imagine getting in front of the camera and saying, I went to the supermarket and some guy hit on me and it was really annoying.
And then you make $4,000 off of that.
And then on that one video, you get $5,000 for saying that, for talking about 3-4 minutes about some bullshit.
Yeah, well, I take that into consideration, but I also take into consideration that if this service can survive, let's say another 10 years, it will be at the point where anything you got some type of work you want to do around the house, some type of hobby you want to start getting into, there will be a video telling you how to do it, guaranteed. And that for me has been so useful, in especially learning how to do video editing and making videos.
Sony Vegas tutorials, absolutely. Yeah. Look, there's the treasure trove of stuff. I'm far from an expert with Sony Vegas, but I'm decently proficient these days. And I started from scratch, being someone who's almost 40, not knowing about any of this stuff. Without the video tutorials, primarily on YouTube, and even the content offered. I mean, hint, hint, every now and then I'll make use of templates because it's just, I could make the stuff myself, but it's easier to use templates and integrate them that are offered. There's a treasure trove of stuff on YouTube. I love watching documentaries about, mostly about animals usually, things like that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff.
So tell me how you found Pillass. I mean, that's a strange thing for someone like you to find.
Well, I wasn't looking for a teenage girl talking about her adventures at the mall.
And you weren't looking for videos of asses either.
No, I was not. I was looking for actually Minecraft stuff. She has a secondary channel with over 100,000 subs where she plays Minecraft. And she came up there, so I clicked on it, and I was curious, and then I saw links to this other channel. I just thought, by the gods, what is this abomination? That's how I found Piddalass. I think that was the final for me. Full disclosure. I want people to understand what I mean by filth. This is just filth. It's not dirty. It's not pornographic.
It's not immoral.
Not immoral. It's just. It's so vacuous, the content. It offers nothing, no thoughts. It's just, and yeah, I mean, I'm not envious of that per se, but I do think that it's bankrupt. That vacuous content should not be rewarded with much money. If you produce, this is why I think Angry Joe, he puts a lot of effort in. If people think he's good, I don't. Fine, but this is someone who, anyone could do what she's doing. It requires minimal effort. Even if she does it once a day. In fact, if she does it every day, she does get money, Piddalass. I mean, she just, pops herself in front of the camera and blah, 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 makes money. It's, to me, that's just an abomination. The
way I look at stuff like that is it's the 21st century version of Gossip Mag, except even worse because these people aren't even of any significance. At all. Well,
no, it creates these feelings of megalomania. I mean, these are as well. I mean, you become an internet personality and so on and so forth. And these mundane things like going to the supermarket or clubbing become some fantastic, amazing the vlogs. I mean,
if she was someone who went skydiving every day,
okay,
exciting stuff, maybe we could give it a pass. But it's just mundane shit.
Yeah, and her commentary,
everyday life
on Minecraft, I'm not very familiar with mine. It doesn't seem appear to be very good either. In fact, her Minecraft channel was built upon her her main channel of vlogging. So, but I don't want to talk too much about Pitalas. This is,
yeah, we're just, that's just an example of what makes us maybe want to have YouTube burn.
But yeah, there is a lot of good stuff too.
Overall, I've told you what I think.
Overall, you're not forced to watch this stuff, obviously. So
yeah, that's why I asked how you found it, because I never stumbled across something like that in my YouTube travels.
Well, it was like I said, Minecraft, and then I saw the link to her main channel. I looked at it. I just thought, no. And this is nothing.
So it's something that can be avoided if that's what you wish. You can use it just to search for what you want. Just subscribe to who you want.
Well, I mean, there's another. I mean, sometimes it's interesting to study just for the purpose of analysis, and how YouTubers do it. And for example, no big YouTuber that I know has videos longer than 10 minutes, and this is because people have short attention spans. Retention rate is bad. In fact, they're usually under 5 minutes. In fact, they're usually under 4 minutes. So there are things like that that you can. I'm not good at keeping it short. That you can do.
Neither am I.
I mean, because yes, sometimes you can put things on. No, the German expression was coming as opposed to English. You can be
what's the German expression?
You would literally say bring it onto the point, but it would literally just put things quickly in perspective, and bring it onto the point, as they would say. But sometimes you need more time for that. So that's something. But all in all, I don't know nobody knows what's gonna happen to YouTube. But man, nobody's talking about what we were talking about, the real issue that Google is losing money. They're taking measures to try to change that state and possibly stay the course. And in the future, they might take other measures, and who knows. And that's what we should be focused on, trying to understand what it is they're doing. Because, like you said, the caterwaul, and nobody cares. I mean, they don't care that Angry Joe is going to be earning a couple of tens of $1,000s less. That you don't care about transformative processes, about the unique gaming experience. This is just completely irrelevant.
It is possible that they do care.
No, I doubt it.
The thing is, it doesn't matter, because they are working against the hard limits of reality.
Hey, there might even be some high up amongst EA, Electronic Arts, that really wants to see quality, and finds it a pity that EA is probably the worst publishing company in the world. But he still has to toe the line, find the bottom line, which is generating revenue or not.
And some companies are more willing to take losses in the pursuit of their ideals for whatever it is they're doing.
These freak occurrences exist. I mean, this is really going off on tangent, but let me just give an example. One of my interests is diabetes and cancer and dietary means of preventing that. I have lots of weird interests. That's one of them. Anyway, there are several doctors who are investigating dietary measures which aren't approved of by the mainstay medical community. So they have these venture capitalists with tons of money, and I don't mean venture in the traditional sense. They really want to see something, whether it's successful or not. They say, we need to just explore this period, investing tens of millions of dollars in these doctors to do research just because they want to see, is this going to help? Is this going to change stuff? That does exist. It's just incredibly rare.
I think that plays into a Google with YouTube. I know a lot of people are salty about Google and YouTube, especially after the Google Plus integration. Yeah. But I do think Google believes in YouTube. And as I've said, they are trying things to keep the core of what Google or what YouTube is intact, which is a free service on both ends for both uploaders and people who watch. They are trying. I mean, they're willing to take a massive amount of heat. There's no way they didn't know that this was going to generate hate, especially right on the heels of the Google Plus issue, which is, I would say, less significant. They were willing to take that heat because, they probably believe that keeping this free to everybody is what they want YouTube to be, and they want to do what they can, try everything that's possible, short of going to that subscription or pay-per-view model. And I can respect Google for that. They're in a really tough place. They have a huge albatross around their neck in the form of YouTube, and they're trying to turn it into something that they can justify to the investors who really are what make it possible. They are what makes the massive costs of this service something that is able to be done. And I shudder to think how much storage YouTube has, and just think of what it would take. Whoops, sorry, I keep hitting the mic. Just think of what it would take to have a system where you can access any video on the system instantly. There's no delay, like, oh, you're in the queue to watch this video, please wait. Just think of all that stuff that it could be.
Maintenance costs. That's why we don't know how much they need to invest. Employers who have to maintain it. I mean, their costs are massive. So people speculating that they might have earned $5 or $6 billion. That might be.
I don't think so.
That might be not enough. Even we don't know how much it all costs. But I think this is the bottom line, and people really should start focusing on that. Because maybe if people really became aware of that and honest about it, they could have an honest upfront discussion with Google, and Google would come forward too and say, look, here's the situation. Instead of focusing on transformative experience and copyright and publishers, and the publishers have
give
nothing
us some
to do
ideas
with
for how to make some more money.
Yeah.
That's what that's what the issue is. But they seem content to let people just flap their gums in the wind impotently, not realizing that it's not a matter of the publishers or anything like that. I just wish there was more honesty from everybody, so that we could maybe find a solution that actually works.
So do I. I think in this case, transparency and honesty would be great. But everyone's fearful. Google's fearful about talking about the money issue because they're looked upon as greedy. Channels can't talk about the fact that they want to make money or make more money or maintain their money. Everyone's just afraid of talking about it. And
well, we'll talk about it here.
Yeah. But I mean, this is crippling. This is crippling real possible solutions. An open forum discussion. That's crippling real solutions, possibly negotiations. Instead of talking about this irrelevant stuff, because the publishers, they have nothing to do with this in large measure.
We know that pretty much for a fact.
We know that for a fact. They've, several publishers have come out and said, we ain't got shit to do with this, and that should be enough to just stop talking about the publishers. I mean, let's look at TotalBiscuit's rant or discussion. I thought it was pretty useless because he didn't talk about anything we did. It was useful. Okay, affiliate managed, so there's a difference, and you learned that if you didn't know that before. But otherwise, he talks about issues of what's considered copyright, what's not. That's a separate issue, and we could talk about that. But that's not the bottom line. And honestly, I think, well, this is just standard. I don't think intellectual honesty is very popular. That's why you have a lot of these fake personalities, be they gaming or otherwise. It's interesting because I saw an off-the-cuff interview with Ray William Johnson. He was caught by surprise, and man, was he unpleasant. A far cry from the, hey guys, what's up? Check out these videos, where he's flailing his arms about and acting like a clown. I think the world in general could use more of it. YouTube, certainly, because big channels in the largest measure are based on giving their audience just either a load of BS or it's very filtered. And people might not like what I do in my channel, that I'm just my monotone speaker or whatever, or it's boring. Honestly, I don't care. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Can I put on exciting, the excited airs and fake it? I could. I can actually.
I'd love to see an excited Stardust video for it, like April Fools or something.
Well,
like you do a Let's Play
here's an announcement.
Episode,
I have been considering doing a parody series called the Exciting Gamer. For exciting people.
Oh my God! Now I want it now.
Well, Well, actually, one reason why I've been hesitating about moving forward production with I can't decide whether to call it the enthusiastic game or the excited, is that if I have to use the quote unquote good games like Call of Booty and things like that, because that helps illustrate my point, that's more likely to be hit with the matches and stuff. So I'll have to consider a workaround, because I have a lot of formulas that I've been observing in my analysis. And one thing the so-called guy, the not rad Brad, he does, it's so transparently stupid. Hey guys, I accidentally bought 5 copies of this game, and I found one lying around, and I got another one by way of gift during Christmas. All of them are just accidental. I'm giving them away right now. We're going to do it with raffle. Best way. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and favorite, and spread this shit throughout the internet. I mean, these formula.
So insulting.
These formula, yeah, but people, they eat it up. So, I'm thinking about doing the satire thing. I think I could do a good job. And the thing, I wouldn't need to portray myself because it's all bullshit anyway.
That's the irony is like that's part of the process. It's just it's not you.
Yeah, but that's the whole point. I mean, how many people? I do try to stay anonymous, but this is how I speak. I mean, this is how I think. Whether it's on the gaming channel or the other channels. I mean, those are my thoughts. Agree with me or not, I'm being honest. I'm being intellectually honest from my own perspectives. And not a lot of people either appreciate that or do that. Now, I'm not claiming I deserve recognition for that. I just think overall the world would be better off if they did that. But
problem is it'd be more boring, and people find that intolerable.
Yeah, well, people need their excitement. I mean, people need the entertainment. I mean, I hate to bring in politics, but the Snowden thing, right? I mean, just a blip under the radar. I mean, how many people really got upset about that? I mean, if you go, what I like to bring up with that issue, and we're really going to different territory, but so be it for a little while. During the Watergate trials, the whole Nixon thing, this was before even I was alive, but if you don't know what Watergate was, Nixon had people working for him spy on the opposition party's offices and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Got caught doing it. There was too much evidence. He was forced to resign. People really cared about that stuff, that invasion of privacy. They really did. They hated it. That's over 40 years ago.
It wasn't even them. It was, just
it was a principle.
Political intrigue.
Here we find out in 2013. I guess a lot of it was
the spying through World of Warcraft.
Yeah, that we're being spied upon every possible corner. This guy was crazy or brave enough or whatever to come out. He seemed to be principled. I really do think at base he had certain principles. He said, I just can't keep on doing this. And people just want to keep on watching their Twitch or their Jenna Marbles, and hey, it's all good. I mean, the government relies on people's lack of civic responsibility, and in general, their desire just to be entertained. I mean, it's got to be entertaining. I get comments all the time, this is boring. I remember a while back, Barbarossa gave me a shout out, and there was this sort of this litany of, I can't watch Stardust, he puts me to sleep. Well, so be it, but because it's got to be exciting. It's got to be exciting. And this is a malady I think that our species, human beings, just suffer from. They can't watch something unless it's entertaining. It's got to, this guy Vsauce, I can't stand. He has a science channel of a sort. He's got over 5 million subs, one of the hugest channels, biggest channels. But his whole approach is this kind of edutainment. Every video starts, Vsauce, hey guys, Michael here. With a voice, it's all put on, and these facts that nobody really cares about. Are they accurate? If I'm aware, some of the stuff I talks about I know pretty well, and he did something about the origin of words, and I know that stuff pretty well. So yeah, it's accurate for the most part, but people don't care about the details. They care about the presentation. They care about more about the exterior form. So that's why channels like ours are always going to be, at a disadvantage, and that's why gimmicks like Angry Joe are even force strategy gaming. This is someone who's studied, linguistics academically and professionally. that I looked at his earliest gaming videos, which were basically, I think, StarCraft stuff. That's what really built his channel on. He had a different cadence. His tone was different. And over time, he develops what I like to refer to as the American news broadcaster voice. You know, more on this later. Back to you. You know, that kind of thing.
The projected voice.
The projected newscaster voice.
Yes.
Until we find out more, we'll keep you informed. You know, that kind of thing. I can imitate it pretty well. But the point is that even that's a bit of let's try to present some kind of facade. Yeah, and it works. It works. It works.
Yes, and you know, this is a very important issue, especially for what I do on my channel, because I do try to take strides to make it entertaining. And you know, I don't know how well I do at that. I haven't got a huge amount of feedback on that front, but I do try to make it something that will bring in the gaming audience as a whole and expose them to these ideas. So I think that, despite, you know, the disdain we might have for it, is something that's at least of some value. Is that
it's a value because it's useful and it works.
Especially with who was the gentleman you were talking about that makes the videos about the meaning of words? Who was that?
Well, he doesn't. He was this one Vsauce. Yeah,
Vsauce. He does all that entertainment value stuff, and consider that. Even though people might not really be hugely interested in the specific issues, they're at least exposed to them. They are at least getting their foot in the door to these issues. A certain percentage will look into them further. So you got to consider that aspect of it as well, and not just oh, he's putting on airs and whatever. There's the possibility.
No, absolutely. He might even have a reason to do that.
And
to reach the target audience. Yeah.
So what I try to do with RedPillGame Reviews is expose the general gaming audience. That's ultimately who I want to reach out to with this stuff, is the people who play games but they don't really care about, you know, the feminist issues or whatever beyond what they've heard with Sarkeesian and that gang of people. I want to bring them into deeper into the type of things that we talk about and we think about, and especially in the service of promoting gaming as a place where we can have these type of red pill compliant, if you want to call it that, game themes that, you know, maybe the feminists don't like it, but still it can happen.
Well, it's not just the feminists. I mean, TotalBiscuit's about as blue pill as you can get. I mean,
unfortunately, yes, you
couldn't be mainstream. I mean, it couldn't be mainstream.
I wonder though about that, because he built himself up just covering games, and if he were to branch out into real issues to do with gaming and things like that, would it really, you know, kill him to have a real opinion on these things that isn't just
not after he had a reputation? But I mean, you can't start off with a reputation like that. I mean, you can't.
Starting off with that, probably fatal.
Yeah, you can't say some of the things I've said. Yeah, full disclosure. I mean, you can't say some things I've said and expect to have a wide audience and be accepted. That's just not going to happen.
It's just there's so few examples of people that are big coming out with these unpopular opinions about issues that are this heated. There's just so few examples.
Eincrou, even amongst, I mean, I don't want to bring this up, but even amongst the so-called red pillars, I mean, Fiddlebogen's a perfect example. I don't know if you watched the video, but that very interesting sex economics theory publication, which just proved things I've been talking about for a long time, or at least supported it strongly. Again, more evidence. And Fiddlebogen just says no comment. Yeah, so it's. I don't want to talk about that. This is not the channel to do that, but
it's very much people want to stay within the bounds that they set for themselves.
Yeah, they want to be. I mean, PC is there because people want harmony. Well, this gets back to the core issue that people are less interested in the truth and less interested in being intellectually honest than they are about feeling good and getting along. And I don't. There are a lot of issues we could talk about this, but let's not scare off. I mean, we don't want to get too red pill on people. I think we'd be too extreme from some people. Who might, I'm serious. I mean, there are lots of issues that are just super red pill that just never, would
look at our stuff. Maybe you'll get sucked in. Maybe you'll.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll see.
Anyway, we've been talking for quite some time, guys. I hope that was informative. The main focus, of course, this was the bottom line of why Google is doing this and the future of YouTube, more or less, and to really just to divert you away from the mainstream, which is really just dealing with these side issues.
It's BS.
But it's BS. As Eincrou is saying, it's a load of bullshit. That's not what this is about. We have the evidence from the publishers, and we know what this is about. Let's just hope some mainstream person gets out there and says, look, guys, this is what it's about, because I don't see it happening. And, our video on this probably isn't going to get that many views that most people will know. They just keep on talking to the publishers. I see it in the comments. And for someone who cares about what's true, it drives me crazy. But what are you going to do? Any final thoughts, Eincrou?
No, I enjoyed doing this, and maybe it's something we should do again. There's definitely, gaming things we could talk about.
Absolutely. There are definitely tons of gaming things we could talk about that you probably would get a different perspective in talking about than, if you just went to TotalBiscuit or Average Joe and what have you. So definitely. Okay, we're going to wrap it up for now, but everyone, thanks for listening. Hope that was, I was going to say entertaining. It probably wasn't, but I hope it was educational. I hope it was edutainational. There's a neologism for you. I just made this neologism up right now. It was edutainational for you guys.
Edutainment. What form is that? Edutainment would that be?
Edutainment. That's, what do you mean? Well, that's a noun.
Edutainment and all, or
yeah, I can't. I know edutainment's a real word they actually use in the teaching English as a foreign language business, but edutational. How about edutational? Edutational. There we go. There's the neologism for you guys. New word. That's what a neologism is, in case you're not familiar with that.
And then we go on for an hour about linguistics.
No, we're not going to do that. We all know how well my Indeterminate Vagabond channel went with talking about linguistics. People liked it so much they fell asleep and just disappeared off the face of the earth. Having said that, Stardust signing out here. Everyone take care. As always, may the gods watch over you.
Yep. Take care, everyone.